Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. I am Gav, I have got Kev, I have got Chris, and Liverpool are 1 point maximum away from winning the Premier League title and their 20th league title overall. Everybody's very excited, all right? I'm literally like a fucking child at Christmas waiting for Sunday to come. But we, as professional as always, have decided to come on here and do a show. And this one is about Liverpool's imminent 20th league title and the big moments that we feel during the season that has kept us on that track towards the title. The big moments, the big games, wherever it might be. We're going to rattle through them between now and 11 o'clock and see where we end up. Kev, I'm going to start if that's all right. And
You crack on.
the big moments, when I was thinking back earlier, and I was thinking big moments. I was trying to think back of my experiences watching games and going, "Oh, that was huge." When you come away, when you come away from a lot of games, you go, "Lovely 3 points." But when you come away from one, you go, "Fucking yes." That sort of way. It feels big, and I'm going to bring us right back to the start, and Ipswich away. An awful lot made of Arne Slot coming in. The summer we've had, the lack of signings. If you remember on the day, Joe Gomez was possibly considering his options and wasn't in the squad and leaving him. You're like, oh my God, is this not over the top, but is this fucking boat rocking already here? That sort of way. We just need a couple of wins to get us going. And Kev, we got a 2-0 win away at Portman Road against the newly promoted Ipswich. He makes a big decision at half time. He brings off Quansah and he brings on Kanate, and everyone straight away was like, right, ruthless. If you're not doing it, you don't fucking play. And I just felt a good start is important, but for a new manager, the new Liverpool manager, after the end of the previous season, we had the emotion of Jurgen going. I just felt, get your 3 points on the board and let's see where we go from there. I genuinely thought it was huge. And I remember after the Ipswich game going, we needed that. We badly needed that.
I mean, we all came through the preseason when we were watching the preseason games, wondering how are we going to play? What are we going to be like? How's he going to line up? What is he going to do? And that game has banana skin written all over it because there's so many ways you can come out of that losing. Whether even if you scrape 3 points, it can knock your confidence away against the promoted side. First game of the season, it's written in the stars for it to go sideways on you. And there we are at halftime. We knew it wasn't great. We knew it wasn't, that there were issues. And we get the texts were coming through like on social media, on Twitter. There's a change coming at halftime. Kanate's coming on. We're like, what the fuck's going on here? And we're like, yeah, it's the right decision, but I remember reading the messages like Kwanzaa's going to be really damaged by this. How's he going to react to it? How's Slot going to deal with that? Is he creating a problem for himself down the line? There was no fucks given. Couldn't care less. It was like this needs to happen. You guys need to do this. This is the standard, and we walk away with 3 points. And because of the decision he made at halftime, it turned the game into a positive win and a standard going forward for the rest of the season. And as it turns out, for the first 3 games of the season, that's what happened.
I just think it was a really big win. I think my thing over the summer was when Klopp leaves. Klopp had such a strangle on the media for me. He went in, he done his press conference, nobody fucked with him, and if anybody did, he laid down the law. But he was charismatic at the same time. He wasn't like a tyrant. But my big thing over the summer was Arne Slot. Are the media going to see this as right? This is our chance now. We've put up with 9 odd years of Jurgen Klopp. Now we've a new target, and is he an easy target and stuff? And a draw or a defeat and an Ipswich, or even a 1-0 unconvincing kind of thing, because it was a convincing enough win. Let's be fair.
Yeah, it
But
was.
I think anything other than that, and they would have been like, oh, but you didn't do this and you made that change, and it was unconvincing. They could have had a go, but I thought it really, really. I think it just stood out to me when I was thinking back on the season.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm going to move around a bit, and then I'm going to let Kev pick the next one. I think the next big moment in this, and we're going to talk about loads of wins and goals and whatever else. But the defeat of Forest at home, I think it's a huge turning point. We earn a slot in this division.
Yeah, I think it was because hindsight maybe underestimated it a little bit, but I think he learnt a lot of how he had to deal with Liverpool after an international break. So the likes of the South American lads, looking a bit off it after um, long travelling. Generally, after international break, the first game back is always a bit flat and a bit shit. He went a bit wild with his changes, which I remember at the time Kev was very worried about. Going, what's this three at the back shite and this tactical, what's going on here? And there was something going like, this is a little bit baby out of the bathwater after three or four games, because I think we ended up with Bradley, Van Dijk, and Simicast as a back three, and you're sort of going, not liking how that works. So, and listen, to be fair, it's a wonder goal by Forest. It's a really, really good goal, and actually, other than that one bit of quality in the game, that game was heading for a dismal 0-0. So, but it was good because I think he learned from that. He was pretty magnanimous in his defeat. He was like, I probably said it how his fans felt at the time, which was, look, we take the loss, we deserve to lose, we should not be losing to Forest.
Yeah.
And that's how, and he was setting that stall out.
He never shut the fuck up about Forest then. Every week he mentioned Forest.
He fucking hates Forest. I mean, he still hasn't.
He hates Forest more than Kev hates Australia. Like, it was fucking mad.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, if Ange gets a sack and moves to Forest, Kev's fucked. Honestly, Jesus, can you imagine? Kev will just quit.
Yeah. I think the worst thing for Kev is if Ange gets the sack and ends up being on Sky. That's what I think could be the worst.
Dude,
or even worse, he could be on TNT with Rio Ferdinand.
I'd have to listen to Kenny Cunningham and like it.
I just sit in the house with earmuffs on. I just couldn't do it.
Him and Kenny Cunningham on Virgin. That's all you'd need. Oh, if that happened,
I'd sync the radio commentary. Honestly, I would sync the radio commentary.
If that ever happened, I'd want to do a reaction show of us watching Kev, watching Ange do, because that'd be better than any game. Just watch Kev. But yeah, it was interesting, because this is where you look at a manager. Go, right, how's he handle a setback? I mean, how's he handle a setback? He went 26 games undefeated. So he handled the loss quite well, even though he doesn't shut up about it. It was also interesting. Listen, Kev remembers the post-match. It wasn't the best, was it, Kev?
No.
Some of the usual suspects appeared, who, as me and Kev and Ash have spotted, only appear when Liverpool don't win a game. But it was amazing how fragile some of our fan base was. It was like, that was it. We're a mid-table side. This is what we're going to do. We'll be looking to make top four. There was all that nonsense, very media-driven, because that's what the media had said. And the good thing for the manager was he had that, and then he went 1-0 down to AC Milan after 5 minutes, and you thought, oh, okay, how are we going to handle this? And then they turned it very, very quickly, and he went,
dominated Milan.
And dominated. But that's probably a turning moment, because there's a sliding doors moment where we lose to AC Milan, and then you're going, right, and that's then sets a little bit of a learning curve of right, okay, maybe we're not going to be in a title race. Maybe this is more of a top four finish, and it's a new manager settling in, which I said at the start of the season. I expect Liverpool to finish around third, fourth, new manager settle in, and then we'll see where we go. So, we exceeded expectations that I had. So, but yeah, I agree. I think that loss, long term, he's learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
But the one thing before jump in was one sec. The one thing about that, we didn't realise how good Forest were.
True.
We just didn't. At the time, Forest were the side who just survived last season, spent crazy amounts of money.
The blueprint at Anfield that day continues for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And they were, as we found out throughout the season, they're really, really good at what they do. And that 3 points for them, that loss to us, I think we took it harder than what, the way the season panned out. We should have, because they've done that to a lot of teams this season, and including some very top side. Frustration at the time, but I suppose there's a lesson in there as well. When you lose, it's a moment in time kind of thing. See how that loss looks over the course of a seaon. And you look back at it and you think, yeah, like Chris is bang on in what he says. He learned a lot from it. But I think he learned a lot from himself about the quality of the league and the surprises that can lay around the corner, even against a side like Nottingham Forest, because you don't know what they're capable of. And I don't think he did at the time. I don't think he appreciated the quality that was in this league because everything was hunky dory up until then.
Yeah.
It was all rosy in the garden. Like.
It was. As Chris said there, he goes on a 26 games unbeaten after that. But Kev, what's the next one that stands out with you? I think there's one absolutely screaming at us then.
I was impressed with the Man United win, with the manner of it. I don't think it was a standout, but I think that I'd go with that one actually. I think the performance that day, going to Old Trafford is a whore of a spot anyway for us. We don't have the best record there, and given how bad they've been over the years, they tended to raise their game against us. It was the third game of the season. We beat Ipswich like we were expected to. Beat Brentford like you're at home like you're expected to. Third game of the season, you're going to Old Trafford. It's Eric Ten Hag against Arne Slot. Big Dutch rivals. All the media driven around Liverpool, Manchester United, and it was a massive acid test as to where Arne Slot was and where Manchester United are as well. And with the ease, I suppose, that we dismantled them that day. I mean, I think we had a goal disallowed before we scored the first one. And then it just went as routine a win as you're ever likely to see at Old Trafford. And it set the blueprint, really, for how we were going to play throughout the season, where we were controlled, dominate possession, but when we went with numbers. And you could see the evolution of the side was starting to take shape. And the fact that we went 3 wins from 3, start of the season, 3 clean sheets, it was the perfect start. And if memory serves me right, I think we went into an international break on the back of that. It was right at the. It was.
Yeah,
it was. It was the first week of September, and it was like the perfect. It was the end of the perfect. It was the best way to end a perfect start to the season, because if you were looking at the way our fixtures piled out at the start in the league, you're looking at that's a nice run of games to start the season there. But that away trip to Old Trafford, that could be stumbling block. And to come out of that in the manner that we did, 3 clean sheets, it was just like, you're in dreamland, you're a perfect start. And I suppose, I don't know if then you're starting to think, you're not thinking about leagues. You're almost looking at the rest of the fixtures to come, like, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're not going to drop many points here. And after 10 games, where could we be?
Yeah.
And then you start looking at where you could be. Then I think you're looking at May thinking, right, who do we got in the back 3?
Yeah.
If we're, but I think, it was, it was, I think it was just an important performance more than anything. The win's great. You love going there and winning and what have you. But to win 3-0 in the manner that we did, and it wasn't close. I think Xerxes had a header late on that Allison pulled the save from. But other than that, they really done nothing, and it exposed them and it reinforced where we were going.
Yeah, Chris, I think there's one that's really stands out to me early-ish in the season. I'll let you go next though. What one's next for you?
Next for me is probably either side of the international break: the Palace away and then the Chelsea at home.
The Chelsea at home is the big one for me,
because that is his first game after international break since Forest lost, and you thought, right, okay. We were shit after international break last out. What we're going to do is that. And Chelsea were quite fancied then, because Chelsea were in decent form. Cole Palmer, according to Jamie Carragher, was the best player to ever live.
Yeah.
So you were sort of thinking, what we're going to do here? And that's where you saw to see some of the tactical tweaks that Slot can do, where Curtis Jones comes in. So he has McAllister on the bench. He doesn't risk McAllister, doesn't risk Luis Diaz, and doesn't risk Nunes. So all the South American lads are benched. Again, to give a bit of freshness. and he gets Jones to do an absolute job on Palmer.
Hmm.
And Palmer is literally a non-event the whole
Yeah,
game.
O'Shane says the same. He says Jones pockets Parma that day. He was anonymous. The big thing for me in that on that game was, though, as you look, a really early stages progression of Liverpool at the time was, dominant against Ipswich, patient, all this sort of stuff. Then you have Brentford, where again dominant on the ball, controlled, going and trying to take our chances when we need to take our chances. And I think the Forest one, the reason I pick Forest as big is because I think we absolutely pile pressure on Forest and we actually become a bit ragged in what we're trying to do. And when we become ragged in what we're trying to do, that's where Forest pick us off, right? But the Chelsea one is so big for me because we come out and we say to Chelsea, you have the ball. We're not going to go out here and press right onto you for, I think, Madueke played that day. I think Palmer plays that day. I can't remember who plays down the left hand side for them.
I'll go team for you now. One sec.
Jackson Martinez played. Sancho, and Chelsea's. I know I probably said his name, Jackson's name, wrong because I always do. Nicholas Jackson. I said Jackson Martinez, didn't I? I'm thinking of the fella that plays.
Yeah, I was
good. Porto.
From Porto back in the day.
Yeah. And Liverpool could have easily went out there and said, right, we have to impress here. We're going to get on to Chelsea. And Chelsea would have went, great. Because what we'll do is when we win it, we get it into Palmer's feet. He'll look to Madueke and Sancho. And he'll look for the lad up front. And then we go from there. And Liverpool say, no, you have it. Let's see what you can do with it. And then we're going to do the opposite to you. And I thought it was brilliant. We're 1-0 up. They equalise. We get a goal straight away through Curtis Jones, if I remember right. And
nice goal.
Yeah, and we win 2-1. But everyone was like, oh, Chelsea had 65% of the ball. And we're like, yeah, it's great, isn't it? Is it great? Because what we done was we'd 75% of the ball against Forest. So what we're doing now is we can come out and say to you, you go and have the ball. And let's see what you can do. And then we're going to hold you going the other way. And I just thought, Chris, it was a really big thing you done that day. Because not many times you play at Anfield as a Liverpool team and you tell the other team to have the ball. It never happens. But he decided that day he was going to do that. And he played it to perfection.
I suppose the other sliding doors moment, we could definitely say it now, it's probably not in hindsight, was the Jota injury.
Yeah. On that day, yeah.
On that day, we don't see him for a month. And if we're being brutally honest, Jota has not come back the same player since that injury.
No.
And I'm convinced post-league win and in the summer, I think we'll find out exactly how big that injury is. I'm convinced it was like, there's rumours of punctured lungs, cracked ribs, and I think it was something quite serious like that. And unfortunately for him, that was probably Darwin Núñez's big opportunity to kick on. And sadly for him, he didn't take it. And that's probably the story of the season is both our number 9s have gone, just haven't quite worked. Which is why we ended up trying, the Diaz down the middle routine, which, listen, it's worked this year.
It has worked.
But it's definitely probably highlights to Klopp, I keep saying that, slot. Down the middle is where his gap is, where he's like, I'm happy to go with what we've got, but I think not long after that he realised number 9's the area we definitely need to look at something in the summer.
Yeah, because he's tried so many kind of variations there. The only thing he hasn't tried is putting Gakpo down the middle, and I don't think he ever will. Chris, just sticking with you as we go along, and I'll jump to Kev then. As the games go on then, you look at that Chelsea win, the Champions League is kicked in. We draw at Arsenal. It is big that we don't lose at Arsenal. And to be fair, on the balance of the game, I think a 2-2 draw was about right.
I think Arsenal should have won.
Yeah, I think, you see, my argument is if you're at home, you should go and win. I think Liverpool were good, and then I think Arsenal were really good, and then I think Liverpool showed that if you give them a second, they'll hurt you, and Liverpool hurt them. And to be fair, I think Arsenal have done this loads this season. I think they've had loads of the ball. I think they've had loads of territory. I think they've had the momentum, and they haven't killed it. And I think it's happened to them all. They've 13 draws in the league this season. And I'm telling you now, I'd be surprised how many they're behind and come back to draw. I think there's a lot of them that are ahead, and they're pegged back.
I can't know if they're this. I think Ashley's in the chat. Assume she's still speaking to me. They're either first or second Arsenal for taking the lead and dropping points.
Wouldn't be
it's
surprised.
between them and Ipswich.
Ipswich, who've done it every week.
Which which is pretty damning when you've got that stat with Ipswich, who are relegation
Yeah.
fodder. And listen, they can talk about injuries, they can talk about refereeing decisions. We all do it as fans, but sometimes you've just got to look bare in the face and go, sometimes have you just got the minerals for it?
Yeah.
And I think to win league titles, look, this will be the second one I've seen Liverpool win. You have to sometimes learn how to grind results out. This is why me and Kev are quite of a similar ilk. Have a little bit of a laugh when people get obsessed with performance. Sometimes you're like, yeah, but at certain times of the season, it's about winning ugly and grinding it out. And people forget City, for all the things we don't like about City, we're also the masters of winning ugly.
Yeah.
We just assume they battered everyone, but actually, if you go back and watch highlights,
If you go back and watch,
quite a lot of them, they're not great wins. They just
18,
grind the
19,
results out.
they scab a fucking win 1-0 away at Burnley. Yeah. And then a couple of seasons later,
12 inches, isn't it, over the line? That one.
And then you have, is it 21-22 when we're both going at it again, and they get that winner Goodison, the possible handball by Rodri, isn't it? Same season. So yeah, there is wins where you go, I just think on the day, I think Arsenal were really good first half. I think Liverpool got back into it, and then Arsenal should have taken the momentum as a home team, which I think Liverpool would do in that situation.
Yeah.
And Liverpool go, leave a gap, fair enough. We'll fill that gap now and we'll score. And I just think it showed Arsenal this season. I don't want to talk too much about them, but I think if you look at it, like you said, Arsenal and Ipswich are the teams that have taken the lead most and dropped points from it. And I think that's unbelievable. Only Everton with 14 have drawn more Premier League games than the Gunners in this campaign with 14, says actually.
There's another stat there from Ashley. Arsenal have dropped 18 points from winning positions in the Premier League, more than they have dropped in 2 previous seasons combined.
Which is 17 points. Yeah, so there you go. Kev, it rumbles on ahead. We keep going. We're winning in the Champions League. Everything is good. There's some wins in there. I think away at Southampton and things like that. But I think the next standout one for me, it's a big week for Liverpool. We've put Leverkusen to the sword. We've beaten Villa. That was a Saturday night game, I think. We've beaten Villa. We've won away at Southampton 3-2. That was a bleeding mad game.
Yeah.
But then we've a big week where we play Madrid and City. In the space of 4 days, and we beat Real Madrid, which was a brilliant win. But I think the win against City on the Sunday was huge because Liverpool came out and just dominated Man City from start to finish.
Again, we were on a run of, at this stage, we'd played 19 games in the season to this point, and we'd lost one and drawn one, I think. We were on a mental run, and we were also, I felt this is going to come a cropper at some point. We can't keep this up, and you expect it. Okay, it's Man City at Anfield. We have a good record against them, but still, it's a huge game, and you see how much of a disciple or a fanboy Arne Slot is of Pep Guardiola in the build-up to it. He absolutely is, but he's absolutely no respecter of reputation either once the game kicks off, because we were brilliant on the day. We were absolutely brilliant on the day. Tactically, on the pitch, everything about it. And, I mean, the Southampton game, we came from behind to win it. The Madrid game put you on a right high. And you're right, we were on a run where if you get through this, I think the confidence is like through the roof. And it was. That game, and I suppose the Newcastle one after it, for different reasons, were really important. And I think it was important enough, again, with the Newcastle one. I mean, this game as well, Joe Gomez started in the Man City game. It was a change side. Diaz was playing through the middle.
Mm.
You had Kelleher and goal. So it wasn't as if and on the bench, it's funny, on the bench, you had Trainioni, Tyler Morton, Wataru Endo, Harvey Davis, and Yaros were on the bench. It's like we were what for everyone that says like we didn't have injuries this season, we were at the bare bones in this game really because there wasn't many game changers you'd look at on the bench to affect it. It was up to the players who started, and they did it. They did the job. It was
'Cause
a
even for the
phenomenal
Chelsea,
performance.
even for the Chelsea win and the Arsenal draw, that was a run where we had no Allison because we lost Allison at the Palace game. So Yaros made his debut in the last 15 minutes.
That's right, yeah.
Actually makes a big save right near the end. So that was the easy bananas skin. When you look back the Palace one where we won 1-0, that was the easiest banana skin ever. With 15 minutes to go, with a third choice goalkeeper in it, who, let's be honest, none of us had seen him play really, and we didn't know how good
Not
he
in a
was.
meaningful game.
No, to be fair, he's not bad. He's not bad.
Yeah,
We're quite good at.
I think he's a really good keeper.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. In that game, the substitutions that he made, right? Koda Gakpo came off for Darwin. Gerald Kwanzaa came on for Trent.
He played well at right back, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Curtis Jones for Mo Salah and Harvey Elliott for Luis Diaz in injury time. So it was like we got the lead. We were 1-0 up. Salah scored in the 78th minute. And he literally just done the job by the numbers. It was, for me, I think, a clinical performance. And it should. I think that was the fix. That was the result that you come out. We're going to win this. That was I think Shawnee said it before. I'm pretty sure I've been in and around this. I was in and around the same time. It's like, this is on now. The run that we were on and how much the others were inconsistent. Yes, they were winning games, but for every 2 or 3 games, they were dropping points. And we were on a relentless run until we faced Newcastle, and that brought us back down to earth again, which again wasn't probably the worst thing that could have happened at the time because we were running away with everything at this stage. And you can imagine if we'd have beat Newcastle as well, confidence would have been through the roof, and you can slip in other ways then.
Yeah, I think
I love the Fulham draw.
I like the Fulham draw as well, but the funny thing is, like, it is significant, the Fulham draw, because you draw with Newcastle, right? You win away at Girona, and we weren't great that night, let's be fair, away to Girona. We win 1-0. We draw with Fulham on the 14th of December, and that's a madness. We go down, Robertson gets sent off, but Liverpool are brilliant, in fairness to them. They play literally 90 minutes of football that day with 10 men, and Fulham are blessed to get out of Anfield with a 2-2 draw. But I think that's where people...
Fulham should have been down to 10 men before Robson went off.
Yeah.
With the foul on Gakpo.
Yeah,
right down his Achilles.
What was his name, your man?
It was a centre back, wasn't it? I can't think of his name.
Yeah, his name's going out of my head. But I think this is a period then where Liverpool win a League Cup game away at Southampton, but people are looking and going, oh, they have Spurs, they're going to Spurs now. They've Leicester okay, West Ham away, and people are like, can Liverpool get through this period? And I think the Spurs one is huge, because remember last season away at Spurs, I think it was last season, and that's the one where the goal isn't given, isn't it? And then you have
Diop. Diop was your man.
Yeah, Diop, yeah. And the goal that's not given away at Spurs, and there's all sorts of madness goes on in that game. And Spurs are free scoring at the time, and people are going, Liverpool are starting to concede goals. And I thought Liverpool were unbelievable that day. 3 goals for Spurs absolutely massively flatters them. Liverpool run riot all over Spurs. Like, they run riot on them. And they win 6-3, it could have been 10. And, we go and beat Leicester, and we go and win, we beat West Ham. And Kev, like, when we beat West Ham, it's on the 29th of December. We're turning into the new year, and the next draw is at Old Trafford or Anfield against United. But even after that, there was an awful lot of stuff around that, Kev, around Trent and the whole.
Still haven't watched that game.
You haven't seen it.
I missed it on the day.
Yeah,
and
you still haven't watched it.
I still haven't watched it. I couldn't give a fuck. I couldn't care less.
But the thing was, Kev, people were starting to look for cracks in Liverpool, and that's where my confidence grew. Because you're seeing things like, who have they played away? It's still only January. They're wobbling. They're this, they're that, and the other. And they people are looking for them. People are looking for them to falter here, Kev. And when you start looking at the results, they lose to Spurs in the League Cup. They beat Accrington in the FA Cup. They draw away a Forest when I think they're much the better side. But I think the next significant one, Kev, is we go to Brentford and we win 2-0. And we're the better side in the day. Brentford tell you we're the better side in the day. The manager talks about it. And Darwin Núñez turns up and decides, right, I'll score a couple of goals here, lads. That was a huge day, Kev. Because Arsenal play Villa on the same day. And there's everyone in the Emirates knows that Liverpool have won 2-0 late on. And they go 2-0 up Arsenal and they draw 2-2.
Yeah. That was probably the weekend, wasn't it? That was because even the Arsenal players come out afterwards and they're asked about it. And it is soul destroying because you've seen it so many times in previous seasons. When one side gets a late winner or turns around a result that they're not expected to get, and then you fluff your lines. So you can have a gap down to 3 points, or it can open wide out, and that's kind of what happened. It was like we started out at the start of the season like a greyhound. We were just out the traps and gone. Arsenal were really poor for the first 10 games of the season. They went on a run and they were really good for a good period of time. But this was the one where I thought if there was ever a hope, they needed us to drop points in a weekend. They needed us to lose in a weekend that they could win, that they got to win, just to narrow the gap. Not so much as the gap; it was the confidence.
Yeah,
because that was the key thing for it. Where we've got players in our squad that know how to get over the line and know what it takes to get over the line in a race against a side who are better than Arsenal and Man City. They don't. And they needed that lift, and it never came for them. And that would have been a gut punch that they didn't expect. I think it was Villa turned their form around a bit around that time as well.
Yeah, so we go away at Brentford and we're well the better team. And it feels like one of those games that's going to go on and we're not going to get the result. I think Darwin comes on, Chiesa comes on, Elliott comes on, and Liverpool spark a little bit, and they get the goal. And a couple of minutes later, they get the second goal. And the biggest thing to come out of the day was
the 94th minute.
Yeah, it was a great win, but the talk around the Emirates was that Arsenal go out to warm up, and when Arsenal leave the dressing room, it's 0-0, and when they come back in, it's fucking 2-0. And there's audible gasps, apparently, is the words that were used around the Emirates, that Liverpool had won away. And I think Arsenal go 1-0 up. I think Arsenal go ahead twice in the game, but are pegged back. I think that's how it goes.
And they think they've got a winner to make it 3-2, and it's a handball.
Yes, and it just all goes wrong for them on that day. And I think, people are saying City early in December was one where it was a big marker. I think it was a big marker.
Yeah.
But I think this is the biggest one of the lot. I genuinely think this is the biggest one of the lot. I think that day, Liverpool get the 3 points, Arsenal get 1. I think we might push the lead out to around 9 points. I think 10 points maybe at the time. And I think it's over then.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite games of the season, which I have great pleasure winding Ashley up over.
Oh, this is because Ashley missed the goals, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think she's ever seen them. So, for those who haven't seen the post-match reaction, so we're all getting quite stressed thinking this could be a really stressful show, and Ashley's stream froze. So Ashley, and it only came back up after Liverpool 2-0. So Ashley didn't see any of the goals, and at one point thought me and Kev were winding her up, saying, "What a goal! That's a great goal by Darwin." So we asked Ashley to talk through the goals and the post-match reaction, and
she couldn't.
Needless to say, she couldn't.
She called you every name under the sun.
Yeah,
we saw Ashley's true colours out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did, and Ashley has made it known to everyone that I am on very thin ice. Yeah. So good on me in Liverpool.
That game is huge because, Chris, I'll stick with you. We beat Brentford, right? We win against Lille. We beat Ipswich. We lose to PSV, but we're not bothered at that. A big win away at Bournemouth because Bournemouth were flying at the time. We take Spurs apart in the EFL Cup. We go out to Plymouth. We draw with Everton. We all know the grand old lady, all that bollocks. We win and get
Best
home
team
to
to win.
Wolves, where we're really good in the first, having decided not to be a football team in the second. But then, the 23rd of February, we go away to Man City.
Yeah.
And again, this is like, oh, if they lose here, there's 10 games left or whatever it is, and what's going to happen? And again, I think Liverpool are brilliant, Chris. I think they go, I think they expose City and their frailties. I think, they get two really good goals. And they look such a threat in the second half. They don't score second half, but they look such a threat. And City look just have no ideas. And Liverpool just look after them for the whole game. And it's great to win at the Etihad, because Liverpool don't do it that often. But the manner of the victory that day, where Liverpool went out and went, we're the best team in the country, and we're going to show you why, both defensively and offensively. And I think a lot of people, no matter who they supported, or what narrative they have, or what bullshit they have to make up for their podcast in the stands after the game, had to walk away from that and go, Jesus Christ, they're going to win the league.
Well, I think that's only our second league win there in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's that. I think if you include all competitions,
The last
three.
one I think in the league was Klopp's first game in October 2000.
Yeah.
November 2016, was it?
Yeah, Firmino's first goal.
15, sorry.
Yeah, and the best Skirtle goal you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, credit to the manager. We see again his little bit of tactical flexibility, because we end up almost like a box midfield, and Curtis Jones sort of pulls to the left, and he tried it in the game before. He thought, bit unusual, and then he kept Diaz through the middle. But at times it was almost a front two of Diaz and Salah, and with this box midfield, just to basically get legs around City, because we'd realised, and we've seen all season, City don't have the mobility that they used to have, and it's almost like, I remember Trent getting pelted because he kept getting skinned by Doku.
But Doku was going nowhere, would it?
But I think that was it. I think this is the big point a lot of pundits missed, because doing actual analysis isn't punditry these days, it was knowing your team, where Liverpool almost said, like, look, we're going to leave you 1-on-1. He may skin you, but he hasn't got a hope in hell of hurting us with his type. It's like knowing your players. But if like Foden got it in that position, they were on him, doubled up, made sure he didn't do it. I just think City made a mistake. They should have started Grealish, because Grealish, although he's having an indifferent season, he can pull a magic ball out of nowhere, and you have to always stop him. So
I think Grealish is really good at penning teams in because of his style of play, where he holds onto it and he attracts players to him and stuff like that. But Liverpool had just way too much of them. Like Dominic Szoboszlai ran the fucking London Marathon that day, and the City players were weren't interested. They just weren't interested in running this much. And the problem was, because of the running power of Liverpool that day, you seen Salah decided, I think he was up against, I think Nathan Aki played that day, that side.
Yeah.
And he murdered him, because his movement was coming short, going behind, and Aki didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to fucking do, because Szoboszlai just kept running into these gaps, and he didn't know whether to go inside and cover or get close to Salah, and Salah just had a fucking field day. I just thought it was an unbelievable performance. And one that, look, if you weren't walking away from that thing at Liverpool won the title, I don't know what much more they could have done for you. I really don't. Like, it was unbelievable.
The one thing about that as well, you got to give it the context. The fact that we were playing, I think we played 5 games in the space of about 14 days.
Yeah.
We started off on the 12th of February against Everton and finished up on the 26th of February against Newcastle. And in that run, you had Everton, Wolves, Villa, City, Newcastle before you played PSG.
Yeah.
So, and the squad wasn't exactly full. It was okay, but it was at a point where you couldn't sustain many more injuries. So, and that was the third game. That was the fourth game in that run.
Yeah.
So,
and Brian says there, Arsenal lost at home to West Ham the previous day. The gap went from 8 to 11. Finished.
Yeah.
We always said once it got to double figures around that, you would never break.
Yeah,
it.
Well, it went from 8 to 11 on the 23rd of February, and on the 23rd of April, which is 2 months later, it's 12 points. It's never
I,
gone
I
anywhere.
always felt that for the last 10 games, 10 to 12 games of the season, once you had a 3 game gap, you know, once it was more than 6 points, say it was 7 points, once it was a 3 game gap, with the fact that we had only at the time lost one league game in the season, and we weren't drawing that many in the league, I couldn't see a way where we were going to drop enough points and anyone else was good enough to be able to catch us.
Yeah,
So even if we went on a dodgy run where we lost a couple on the bounce, I still couldn't see an Arsenal putting a run of games together to be able to catch us. And as proven by this week against Crystal Palace, a game that they should have easily won. They found a way to get another draw.
yeah,
So that's why I think a lot of people were just really confident early on, is because you look at the bigger picture, you look at the league as a whole. We are by far the most consistent team in the league, and there's a lot of games in there that we're looking at where we've had to come from behind and win. The Southampton game being a classic one, but there was a couple against Southampton actually this season. There was a few others as well. I think there was the game against Wolves. We went one down and had to come from behind to win.
Hmm.
So it wasn't as if we
I mean,
didn't
we
have to
pick up
grind it
draws
out.
as
We
well.
did.
Like we go behind the Forest, we draw. We go behind the Everton, and we should win it.
Yeah,
We go ahead of Villa and then behind, I think.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we get a draw, and we should probably win that. So it wasn't like if they go behind, you know, an awful lot of times we went behind, we got something out of it. And even when we drew them, you're kind of going, they probably should have won that. Maybe the Arsenal one, you go, nah. But other
No,
than
you
that,
take your point. Yeah,
but I just there's so many little things that went on during the season. But I think we've covered plenty of games there. But I seen this stat today. It's been everywhere in fairness, but I just thought I'd bring it up. And the narratives around Liverpool and stumbling and falling and crawling to the title. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, it says in Liverpool's Liverpool's first 16 games versus their last 17 games in the Premier League. So the first half to the second half, basically. And in the first 16 games, we picked up 39 points. And in the stumbling version of ourselves, of 17 games, we picked up 40 points. We scored 37 goals in the first 16 and 38 in the second 17. We conceded 16 in the first 16 when we were great. But when we weren't very good, we conceded 15 goals in 17 games. All right. When we were great, we had 256 shots in our first 16 games. And when we were brutal, we had 310 shots in those 17 games. We faced 163 shots in our first 16 games. And in the last 17 games, when we've been rocky and defensively looking a little bit, whoa, this could be a wobble, we've only faced 151 shots in one game extra. Expected goals, 36.9 in our first 16 games, 36.4 in our next 17. So, and the distance covered, we have slowed down massively to the point where we are running as a team 1 kilometre less than we did in the first 16
shocking
games.
behaviour. Shocking behaviour.
So, big games, big goals, tactical tweaks, showing our quality. And people will say, Liverpool have done this and done that, and have they been good at this? Have they been good at that? I think it's fairly conclusive that Liverpool have been excellent this season. Absolutely excellent this season. And I said it a couple of weeks ago, and Brandon has mentioned Steve Nicol there. He says, was it Steve Nicol that were saying we were falling over the line? It's embarrassing. Yeah, it is. But Steve Nicol has made a career out, a media career anyway, out of being embarrassing with some of the stuff he said. But Liverpool, I've said it for ages, Liverpool have ran...
Seems to be a thing, doesn't it? If you're an ex-Liverpool player,
yeah, it really
you've got to
does.
be an
Don't
absolute
start me on
pundit.
No,
them. But
Can we talk about Stephen Warnock?
no, because then I'll have to talk about Ronnie Whelan. But the thing is, Liverpool have been excellent, and I've said it for ages. Liverpool have ran at title pace, and everybody else has ran at we might get into top 4 pace. Genuinely. Like
Yeah.
Arsenal's Arsenal's title challenge, right? If you want to use that, right, is still running at less than 2 points a game, and the 4 league games left, right? So if Arsenal win all them games, they'll have, I think it's 79 points. Would that be right?
Yeah.
79
Yeah,
points
79.
from 38 games, which would give them 2.1 a game, something along them
2.1,
lines,
yeah.
right? But that's only bumping her up in the last 4 games of the season. They are 34 league games into the season, and they're currently sitting on something like 1.97 points a game.
Yeah. You
And
see,
that's just not good enough.
I mean, to put into
seven,
context. Go on, sorry. Go on, sorry.
I
Go
was
on,
going to say
Kevin.
79 points is a respectable season if you have silverware elsewhere. I would be okay with that in a normal season if I turned around and said, right, okay, we got 79 points and we've won something along the way. If that's you won something in Europe, you won an FA Cup, and you're building towards something, I'd be like, yeah, that's an absolutely acceptable season. It's not an acceptable season when you finish second, heir apparent for 2 years on the bounce, and you spent a small fortune, and you bought one of the most expensive midfielders in the world to come in and push you that extra yard. It really is not anywhere near close to being good enough. And the amount of verbal gymnastics that Arsenal fans are going through to justify this season is Olympic levels. It is Olympic level verbal gymnastics that they're
If
having to
Arsenal,
go through.
if Arsenal have no injuries, they haven't got anybody in that squad who could score 20 league goals.
Yeah, but you see, but the thing about this is that Arsenal Arsenal have judged this season off last season, right?
Yeah,
And the problem is that Arsenal have suffered injuries above average, possibly, yeah, right. Don't give me all the decisions nonsense. Everyone fucking suffers from them. I don't care what anyone says. I can I can literally go through Liverpool's 34 league games or 33 league games that they've played, and I can pick out decisions that I'm not happy with, right? But you have to remember, Arsenal at the start of the season weren't telling you that, oh, if we keep this 11 fit, we win the league. They weren't telling you that. They were telling you
no,
that their squad was the best. And they had, look who the cover they had. And when they brought in even Sterling, it was like, oh, it's another bit of quality to add to the depth of quality we have. And they had to use that depth of quality. And it didn't work for them. And even at that, I don't, I look well beyond the personnel. I look at the outlook of that team. That team is built to pen teams in, pen them in, right, and use your Odegaards, your Saka, just whoever it might be, even the lads that are backup, to intricately play around teams and beat them. And when they try clear it, you have Saliba and you have Gabriel, a bit like Liverpool in 19 20, 18, 19, 19, 20, where they pen teams in, and the only option the teams had was to boot her up the pitch, and they backed their centre halves to clear everything up and start again. And Arsenal didn't do that. They went away from that. They went to conservative football, trying to win free kicks and corners and score off set pieces. They fucking drew a mural of a set piece coach. Like what they were at this season. And you see, the thing is, I think Arsenal have had a really slightly above normal season when it comes to injuries. I'm going to give them a bit of leeway on that, right? But for Arsenal to be in the mindset that they're going to come back and be this, that, and the other, they need to have 23, 24 levels of injury, right? Instead of 24, 25. So they're relying on injuries when they continuously play players that are overplayed.
yeah.
And that's not managing your squad. That's just
And
not what it is. And
the
I
other side
always
of
go
it is you
back to
look.
it. I always go back to it. Injuries, suspensions, loss of form. If you can deal with them the best, you're in the title. It's as simple
Well,
as that.
you look at how we dealt with it when we lost Allison and when we lost Jota, and it was even at centre back. We lost both of our right backs. Lost Joe
Lost three.
Gomez.
It's three right back.
Yeah, lost Joe Gomez as well at the same time. And it was literally we had 4 fit defenders at one stage, and yet we still were churning out results. So I mean, when the story is written at the end of the season, and we're talking and we're celebrating, what have you, when the dust settles, the credit, the the squad, the unsung heroes, are going to deserve a massive amount of credit for the shift that they've done, the seamless transition when they've come in and adapted to the way that Arne Slot wants to play football. It's been tough at times and it's been a hard watch at times, and it's not been as smooth as your best 11 or your best 12 or 13. But they've come in and they've been effective. I mean, no more so than Grievin Kelleher. Grievin Kelleher, in that period where he came in for Allison, was fucking brilliant. He was fucking brilliant. To the stage where, by the end of it, before the Newcastle game, we were actually having legit conversations about what are we going to do when Allison comes back. I remember that topic coming up on shows.
Yeah.
When Allison comes back, Kelleher has done nothing to warrant being dropped.
And
it was unreal, the levels that the squad went to.
Castle puts in the chat here. We lost Canate for 5-6 weeks, and Joe Gomez stepped in perfectly.
Yeah.
Sadly for him, he then ripped his hamstring, which was a bit of a blow. But going back to the points total that you talk about, Gav, we're on target for around
94.
low 90s, 91.
94.
City, who've dominated for the last 4 years, have finished on 91, 89, 93, 86. Liverpool are doing a normal Premier League title run.
Yeah,
it's not our fault people can't keep up with the pace.
Yeah,
and the pressures. I think the problem for Arsenal is the pressure's told, and it's hard to admit it. And listen, look, we've been there sometimes.
I think Arsenal have an argument if they finish on 79 points and Liverpool finish on 82.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to Lash on Monday and don't come back until the end of May.
Yeah,
because that's about that's where we are now.
Yeah, but
it's crazy. But it's what we've laid the groundwork in the first half of the season.
Yeah, but we've continued in the second half of the season. If you look at it, the stats are frighteningly similar. To be fair, right, we're going to go. That has been some of the moments that we think have been huge in Liverpool on their way to a 20th league title. Thanks to everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. If you fancy joining our Patreon, you can do. Patreon.com/Talkin Kop. You can head over there and you can check all that out. NordVPN is sponsoring our shows for the next couple of weeks. The link is in the description for that as well. Really good deals on 1 month. I think the 6 month, 1 year, 2 year deals, and you're getting about 4 months free as well. So if you want to, that cyber security, you want on loads of devices, you want to change country and watch some of your streaming services, football, sports, wherever it might be, you can do that as well. Carlo Donovan says the biggest moment is Sunday. He's fucking could not be more right if he tried. Yeah. Sunday is going to be unbelievable. I hope Spurs play their under 14s and let us just win 3-0 please, and we can all have a lovely time, Spurs fans included, because you know how it is with the Arsenal. Right, that has been it.
I hope Ange scores the winner.
I hope Ange. Yeah,
just to wind you two up.
I hope they sack Ange at half time. That has been the Talkin Kop. Thanks to Kev. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.
You.